Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Alpenglow Winter Speaker Series. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Our show is about to begin, so please find your seats and give it up for the man, the myth, the legend, Brendan Madigan.
Hey everybody. I'm Brendan Madigan. I'd like to welcome you to the fourth show of our 17th annual Alpenglow Sports Winter Speaker Series, presented by Tahoe Mountain Realty. Thanks for coming. So, North Face athlete and alpine crusher Anna Pfaff is in the building tonight. Let's give it up for Anna. Her story is incredible. But I want to make sure everyone has an adult beverage from our friends at Sierra Nevada, Joel Got Wines, and/or Best Day Brewing. Everyone have a beverage? Thank you to those generous partners. And remember, all of the bar proceeds goes to benefit our awesome nonprofit beneficiary of tonight, Sierra Senior Services. Did everyone check that Mountain Film hype reel? Did you see that? It's fire, right? So let me see a quick show of hands. Who has either been to Mountain Film or knows about it? Yeah, so a lot of people. Awesome. Well, I'm super stoked to announce that since February of 2020, before the world fell apart, when we last hosted Mountain Film on tour, we're bringing it back next Saturday, February 18th, in this same room. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Mountain Film on Tour is a curated version of the main Mountain Film event that happens every Memorial Day in Telluride, Colorado. Has been for something like 50 years. And at its core, Mountain Film celebrates the indomitable human spirit, something that you're going to hear about in spades from Anna tonight, but also something that resonates with all of you, our amazing Winter Speaker Series audience. And whether you're here in person tonight, thank you for coming, or streaming from a local home or a faraway home, you cannot miss this night. It is so special. Mountain Film uses the power of film, art, and ideas to inspire the audience, all of us, to go out and make the world a better place. So in these documentary films, which, again, you cannot miss, they're so moving, they celebrate adventure, activism, social justice, environment, and of course, the indomitable spirit. And I'm not joking, because I go to Mountain Film each May and work shows because it's such a powerful event. It might change your life. At the very least, it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll make you cry, not me cry, and be completely inspired. It's one of my favorite nights of the year, one of my favorite events out there. So mark your calendars for Saturday, February 18th here, and you can buy tickets at the door or cheaper ahead of time at alpenglowsports.com. So before we get started, how about some throwouts? We've got strategic folks all around the room to shower you with goodies. Janice here. Burlich is in the back. All right, I got 3 more. Want some? We have a nice intimate crowd tonight. If you haven't bought tickets, this is very awesome prizes and your chances are very good of winning. Okay, so, all right, Janice, hurry it up. So for those of you who aren't aware, I think most of you are, the Winter Speaker Series has a twofold goal. The first is to motivate and inspire all amazing humans like you to go chase your own dreams in the mountains. And the second is to raise funds for and awareness for local nonprofits here in the North Lake Tahoe and Truckee communities. And over the last 17 years, you, whether in person or streaming from home, have raised over $1.3 million for the local nonprofit sector. And we couldn't do it without some big help. So I'd like to personally thank Jeff Brown from our title sponsor, Tahoe Mountain Realty. Go ahead and stand up, Jeff. Let's give Jeff a big round of applause in Tahoe Mountain Realty. It's a huge honor for us to align with businesses like Jeff's who believe in the power of adventure storytelling and its ability to affect positive change in our community. We also have the support of Palisades Tahoe, our generous hosts. Let's give them a big round of applause. And we're stoked to have the support of the North Tahoe Community Alliance, Osprey Packs, Arc'teryx, DPS Skis, and Peak Design. Let's clap for them. Let's really clap for them. Come on now. There. Thank you. And our local sponsors. Our local sponsors are amazing. And this is where I need everyone to work with me. So when I say a sponsor, everyone's going to clap together. So when I say Mogrog Rotisserie, all right, y'all missed the together part. When I say Mogrog Rotisserie, there we go. The Tahoe Weekly. Come on now, Mount Lincoln Construction. Moonshine Inc. Technical Equipment Cleaners. Emerald Bay Wealth Management. Ming Poon Photographer, there's the man himself. Launchpad Consulting and Software Development. All right, let's try again. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Evolve Design Works and 101.5 KTKE Truckee Tahoe Radio. We'd be remiss to not thank Anna's sponsors, the North Face. North Face has been sending amazing athletes to this speaker series on their own dime for lots of years. Sterling Ropes, Petzl, Gnarly Nutrition, and La Sportiva. Let's clap for them. Come on, y'all, let's clap for them. All right. Come on, let's clap. Thank you. So with that, I'd like to welcome Sharon Womack, the CEO of tonight's nonprofit beneficiary, Sierra Senior Services. Let's hear from Sharon about the vital community work this organization's doing.
Good evening. I'm Sharon Womack, and I'm representing Sierra Senior Services, the local Meals on Wheels provider for North Lake Tahoe and Truckee. Our organization is honored to have been chosen as a nonprofit partner of the Alpenglow Winter Speaker Series. Thank you to everyone who has made this possible, and a special thank you to all of you for attending tonight. Now, no one likes to be told that they're growing older, especially those of us who have a love of adventure and the hope that we can stay active as we continue to age. We plan to continue to hike, ski, ride, and enjoy the outdoors of this wonderful Lake Tahoe area. 20 years ago, the organizers of Sierra Senior Services had the same goal of staying active and keeping other people active too. They realized that this area is not an easy place for older adults to live, so they created an organization that could help those people remain living independently here in their Tahoe homes for as long as possible. The program is based on medical need, not income. If someone needs help because they can't stand long enough to prepare food or shop for themselves, or even if they seem to be forgetting things, we are here to provide them with a nutritious meal to help them stay in their homes just a little longer. Each weekday, we prepare, pack, and deliver meals to an average of 180 people who appreciate this help. Over 75 dedicated volunteers deliver the food on 10 different routes that travel the north side of Lake Tahoe, from Tahoma to Incline Village and then up to the town of Truckee. The program was growing at a regular but manageable pace until the COVID-19 pandemic created the need for seniors to stay home in order to be safe. Since March of 2020, our program doubled in size as more older adults chose to follow the stay-at-home directive. We added temporary routes and volunteers, thinking this unusual growth would level off and probably even decrease once the threat of the virus went away. Instead, the influx of new clients created an increased awareness of our program, and that has not slowed down at all. Those temporary routes have now become permanent, and we began pushing the boundaries of our program's physical space. We can recruit additional volunteers and add more routes, but we're unable to knock down the walls of our current kitchen facility. What was once a comfortable size has now become confining. Our board of directors knew we would outgrow our space at the Tahoe Donner Senior Apartments, but they had estimated we had a few years before it would happen. Instead, it happened in less than 12 months. We are proud that somehow we just keep making this work. Our regular funding through government agencies and private donations pays for the food and keeps our vehicles fueled and maintained. Unfortunately, that funding will not cover the cost for us to expand our facility. And why is it important to have a larger facility? It will allow us to continue our services to this vulnerable population. Since we're the only organization on the north end of the lake who provides this service, we want to make sure that no senior in need ever goes to bed hungry. Many of the seniors we serve are longtime Tahoe locals. Like you, our meal participants share the love of Tahoe and want to remain in the area through their final days. Our volunteers hear wonderful stories from these Tahoe locals as they deliver our meals. Many of our participants have spent years on skis or in hiking boots, and their narratives inspire all of us. With the financial help of programs like the Winter Speaker Series, we can continue to support those who share these stories and pass on the tradition of the mountains. Please go to our website for more information about our program and to make a contribution. And then, when you do need our services, we'll still be here for you. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Okay, guys, we got a killer raffle tonight. Who's ready to win some stuff? All right. So first up, we have a North Face Snowmad 34-liter backcountry pack, Gnarly Nutrition Whey Protein and Shaker Bottle, and a Petzl Tika 350 headlamp. What color you guys want? I got blue. 408383. Blue. You have orange. 408383. Lynn, did you win? All right. Let's give Lynn a round of applause. Let's really give Lynn a round of applause. All right. Next up, we have a Sterling 7.7 rope, an EXO, I think this is two ropes. No, this is one rope, sorry. A 60-meter Sterling rope, a Petzl Meteor climbing helmet, and a Sterling rope bag, valued at $330. What color y'all want? What color? Really? Yeah. Okay. I got red. Look at that. 785-006. 785-006. Going once. Going twice. All right. Winner. 785-006. $330 of climbing gear. She bought so many tickets she can't tell. Okay, next up, we have a La Sportiva men's and women's Descender Storm jacket. Two of them, Gnarly Nutrition Exercise Hydration, and the North Face Slack Pack, backcountry pack. That's a $500 value. Who's got an orange ticket? All right, 611030. 611030, orange ticket. Alex, did you win? All right, this is Mog Rock Zone. Alex, let's give a big round of applause for Alex. Alex and Mogrock are so rad, they donate 15% of food sales each show. So let's clap again for Alex. Okay, next up we have a North Face duffel bag, another men's and women's Descender storm jacket from La Sportiva, and more gnarly nutrition hydration. That's another $500 value. Who has a red ticket? 045267. 045267. Going once. 045267. These numbers are admittedly very small. All right, winner. Okay, next up we have a North Face Future Light jacket, a North Face Nomad pack, and more gnarly nutrition, vegan plant protein. $500 values of stuff. Who's got an orange ticket? That's it? All right, orange is excited. 611156. 611156. All right. Let's give her a round of applause. Come on now. They got you right here. Okay, next up, an Osprey Transporter 65-liter duffel, an Arc'teryx men's Atom hoodie, La Sportiva running shoes of your choice, and gnarly nutrition, exercise, hydration, $600. Who's got a red ticket? 785046. Jeez. 785046. All right, claim it. That was the quietest, loudest. I got it. Okay, we're getting into some good stuff here. Next, we have a Sterling 8-9 bicolor rope, a tote bag, and a North Face fleece jacket, and more gnarly nutrition. This time, Fuel 20. That's a $650 value. Who's got a blue ticket? That's it? All right, the new blue could be more excited. 408714. Blue ticket. 408714. Going once? Going twice? All right. Sierra Senior Services volunteer wins. Come on now. Okay, next up, another Sterling rope, a 60-meter 7.7, a Petzl dual connect adjust. Is that a harness? Oh, it's one of those things. I don't know what that is. An Arc'teryx Atom hoodie and a Sterling rope bag and more gnarly nutrition. That's a $700 value. What color? Sheldon, I'm so not drawing your color. Blue. 408224. Damn, that was quick. 408224 winner. I was so quick, we might want to check his tickets. He's got glasses too. Winner, I saw it. Okay, next up, we have this amazing 3-person tent from the North Face, a Peak Designs travel duffel, and more gnarly nutrition. What color do you guys want? Red. 045102. 045102. We have some ticket scrutiny going on here on the floor. 045102, we're going once. Going twice. Is there any chance that you guys have this ticket? 045102. I really want these girls to win a prize. No, 045102. Okay, redraw. What color? I got orange. 433390. 433390. Going once. Going twice. Okay. What color, you guys? Not orange, apparently. What color? Shoot, I got orange. 433426. 3-person tent, Peak Designs travel duffel, gnarly nutrition. Bro. Okay, 433426. Did you win? 433426? I got you if she's not the winner. All right. She won? Is it the accurate ticket? Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, next up, another Sterling rope, 60 meter 7.7, another Arc'teryx Atom hoodie, an Osprey Zealot 30-liter pack, and Gnarly Nutrition BCAAs. That's $650. Who wants some of that? All right. Blue ticket 408693. No. 408693. Going once. Did everyone just buy like so many tickets? I know you guys did. You got like Tetris going on. 408693 going once. Going twice. Okay, redraw. What color? I got orange. 433246. It was eerily similar to the earlier orange. 433246. Winner? I saw a hand go up. All right, come claim it. 433246. Nope. She's sitting back down. Oh, she's back up again. All right. Let's give her a big round of applause. Four, three, three, 246. It's got to be in that pile. Winner, look at that. Okay. Okay, so a Nerona Falcatin Gore-Tex jacket, a Sterling rope tote, and vegan plant protein from Gnarly. That's $700 value. Want some of that? I got an orange ticket. 433457. All right. Four, three, three, 457. All right. That was quick. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have another Nerona Falcatin jacket and a North Face Snowmad 34-liter pack for your next backcountry adventure. Who wants some of that? That's it? Red ticket. 045131. 045131. Holy cow, she won. Let's see. All right, winner, let's give it up. And our grand prize, thanks to Adam Selby and Alon for this pair of Ripstick 104 touring skis and 2 Palisade lift tickets. That's like $1,200 worth of stuff. Come on now. What color you guys want? Huh? Now don't be greedy up here, Red. All right, I got green. I'm not even joking. This does not have a number on it. All right, what color? I got blue. 408 422. Luann, did you win? Did you just memorize the numbers that you had? Oh, you got it on your phone.
Yeah, so what is the number?
408422.
I don't have my glasses on. 408.
422. Go in that pile. Everyone is waiting on bated breath. I see it right there, 422. Does everyone know this woman graced the world with Michelle Parker? Let's give it up for Luann. Come on now. They're your size too, totally. Let's give it up for Luann. Come on now. All right, everybody, let's give a warm Tahoe welcome to the one and only Anna Pfaff. Come on now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm super excited to be here with everyone. And today, I went and skied over here at Rubicon. It was awesome. Thanks, Dave Campbell, for taking me out and showing me everything. So I used to live here in Tahoe. I now live in Ouray, Colorado, but I used to live in Tahoe about 5 years ago. And as soon as I came back, as soon as I drove into Truckee, I was like, oh man, I miss this place. You guys have an awesome playground, and I'm super psyched to be back here. But my life started, I didn't grow up doing, climbing in the mountains or skiing or doing things like that. I actually grew up in rural Ohio, doing a lot of 4-H projects, showing cows at the fair, baking pies, and doing all the Midwest activities that we do over there. And for me, I actually didn't start climbing at all until I moved to Denver to start going to nursing school. And in nursing school, I met these kids that were in my English class that took me to a place called Indian Creek. And I went with them thinking that I was just going to go camping. And seeing as I was from Ohio, I was just really psyched to do anything because everything was new. So I went to Walmart and bought a tent and a sleeping bag, and these kids took me to Indian Creek. Well, little did I know that I was going to end up borrowing a harness and shoes from them as well. And then they put me on this climb called Super Crack. And I just went right up it, and everyone was really psyched. And I remember from that trip just how awesome the climbing community was and how accepting they were of me. I was new, I didn't know anything. And I just got really drawn into climbing, and I knew I wanted to learn more about it just from that very first time in Indian Creek, and it was because of the community. Well, because I was hanging out with trad climbers and not with sport climbers, they were like, you have to go to this place called Yosemite. You're a trad climber, that's where trad climbers go. So a pretty quick time after that first trip to Indian Creek, I found myself in Camp 4, staring at El Cap, and this woman that I met that some of you may know, named Jean Rettel, also known to some as Jean Tucky, took me under her wing and volunteered to take me up the Salathé Wall, because she had wanted to climb the Salathé Wall and didn't have a partner. And I was like, hey, I know how to tie a figure 8 and a clove hitch. Let's do a big wall. So she's like, all right, you got to promise me one thing. Just make sure that you never unclip from the wall. So I did, and we went up, and we spent a record slow time of 8 days climbing the Salathé Wall. And granted, this was the early 2000s, so like speed records weren't a thing yet. It was kind of just starting, but we were up there forever. I was doing all the wrong things. The ropes were always a mess. I like ate all my chocolate and drank all my water on like day one, and we still had 6 days to go. But Jean turned out to be my first mentor without me really knowing what a mentor was or seeking out a mentor. And I'm forever grateful for her on that trip, because she just took me up there and let me figure things out and kept me safe. And on that first time on El Cap is when I really learned about the importance of adaptability and trusting in yourself and trusting in your partner in this new environment, because this was all new for me, being from Ohio, being from the farm. I went on from that first time on El Cap to climb El Cap multiple times. I learned that El Cap and big wall climbing was really the fundamental skills that are involved in alpinism, which at that first time on El Cap, I didn't know that's what I was going to get into. But the last time that I climbed El Cap was with Brett Harrington. We did a route called El Corazon. She was working on free climbing it, and there's us just camping out on the ledge. My secret is that I just go on El Cap so that I can hang out on the portaledge and eat red vines and have really nice views. From Yosemite, after that first year and then hanging out there for a couple seasons, I made my way down to Patagonia with Jean. She was like, hey, let's go down to Patagonia. This was also the early 2000s. It was like before there's a guidebook. We used to print these really like skeletal topos off this website called Pataclimb, if anybody remembers that. Patagonia, I was in like way over my head. So I get into this terrain. It's huge. I was a California rock climber at the time. I would like only go climbing if it was the perfect temperature. It needed to be sunny. I needed to like be in a tank top. I didn't have to deal with snow. So when I got to Patagonia, it was a big learning experience for me. A lot of the weather windows that people would use to go climbing, we would use just like figuring out how to get to the base of the route. And then we would come back down because the weather window would close down and everyone would be like in town in Chelten drinking beer, and we're like still trying to figure out how to make our way back down from the approach. But my point being is that learning through failure is learning, and learning about the adaptability is the most important. This is a photo of me on top of Point Sinai, and this photo is really special to me because I remember this moment like it was yesterday. I was about halfway up the wall, so we'll say about 15 pitches or so up. I don't know the exact number of pitches on the route. And I was leading, and I was scared, as I oftentimes am when I'm climbing. I just have learned how to control it. And I had to pee. I think I peed like when I woke up that morning, but now we're like well into probably like 2 or 3 p.m. And I had to pee the whole time, and I just... I was leading, I was stemmed out in this chimney, I was like way above my gear, I felt like it was super run out. And all I could think about is that if I peed, I would be able to actually focus on what I was doing. So I just let it go, and I peed. And I'll never forget, it ran all the way down my left leg, like all the way into my left boot. But I'll never forget, and I'm like, granted, I'm like in the middle of a Patagonian big wall, but I'll never forget like the relief that I felt. And like how I could just actually concentrate on climbing. And we kept going up, we made it to the summit, and then, it's like 2 days back by the time you rappel the wall and come back down and make it back to Chelten. It's like 2 days later, I smelled like really, really bad. I felt so bad I just smelled like 3-day-old pee. But we made it, we did it, it really taught me about perseverance and sticking with your goal. Patagonia also taught me that the mountains can be a dangerous place, and they can take from you very easily. In 2009, my friend Rachel Spitzer and I were in Patagonia, and she was walking on the glacier. We were just approaching this climb called Clara de Luna, and the glacier had been all loose, and a big boulder fell onto her leg. And I was out there. I was still quite young and a newer climber, and she had gotten a tib-fib fracture in the middle of the glacier. And this was when the climbing community really came together, because everyone kind of gave up their good weather window to come up and help us get down. And I was like, wow, once again, the climbing community is just amazing. And we were able to get her out. As soon as I saw this mountain called Fitz Roy, in this next photo here, I was like, I want to climb that from the very first moment that I saw it, but it was way out of my league. I mean, I would just be epicking left and right in Patagonia. So I kept coming back. I did 6 or 7 seasons in Patagonia before I was finally able to climb Fitz Roy. I climbed a route called the Afanasieff and made it to the summit. And I was really excited, and it really taught me to stick with my goal, and I just didn't have experience, and I needed to gain that experience through failure and trust in myself that I could actually climb Fitz Roy one day. My experience in Patagonia also taught me that if I wanted to continue climbing in the mountains, I really needed to learn how to ice climb and mix climb. Like I said, I was, a very fair weather California rock climber, Joshua Tree, Yosemite talk heats, like when it's, 80 and perfect. So anytime that I would see any ice or snow or anything like that, I would just totally freak out and not know what to do. So I ended up spending my winters in a place called Ouray, Colorado, which is actually where I live now. And I would just top rope ice over and over and over. And a little secret about me is that when I first started ice climbing, I absolutely hated it. I was like, give me the heated blanket, give me some red vines. I want to go home and just hang out and be warm. I was like, this is scary. My hands are cold. I don't like this. But as I did it more, I learned that ice climbing took me really cool places. And I wanted to continue climbing in the mountains, so I really needed to learn how to lead ice climbing and stick with it, and now I love it. So I started spending winters in the Canadian Rockies, in Bozeman, and really just getting excited about ice climbing and snow, and eventually mixed climbing. And with this, I knew that these were the skill sets that I needed to pursue to be successful. I competed a few times in the Ouray ice competition. I always placed somewhere, usually I was last or second to last, which is totally fine. It was competing is way out of my comfort zone. One year I was competing and I dropped an ice tool, which is really bad. And then I just immediately didn't even drop the tool. I just kind of threw it off. So I was like, well, I dropped one. I'll just, drop the other one immediately. And that was my competition for the day. I was halfway up the route. But it was just putting myself outside of the comfort zone and trying something new. That was really important to me. And learning about how dealing with fear and how that works for me and my interaction with it. In 2016, I got invited to join the North Face team by none other than Conrad Anker. I opened up my email one day, and there was this mysterious email from Conrad, and I was like, how did he even get my email? And is this addressed to the right human? I was just so blown away. And this is kind of fast forward between this early time that I was telling you about with climbing and learning how to climb and having all these epics, I got really drawn into exploratory alpine climbing. Just the whole process of it, looking for a place to climb, looking for a new route, going out into the unknown. And I went on to do first ascents in Nepal and Pakistan and India. And it was always self-funded. I worked a lot of overtime in the emergency room in the ICU. I would work a ton of night shifts, and then I would take all of that cash and hand it to someone and go climbing. So I was always perpetually broke too. I had a good job, I was working as a nurse, but I would just spend all that money on expedition climbing. So in 2016, I was super excited to have the support of the North Face to do big expeditions. So I found myself in the Indian Kashmir with 2 other women, with Savannah Cummins and Lindsay Fixmer. And we're just 3 women way out there in the middle of the Indian Kashmir in the unknown. And we had a lot of issues with the weather. It was really intimidating, these big walls. We're very far away from anyone and anything. And we had to really trust each other and trust in our ability to climb and trust in ourselves and be adaptable with our objectives. And we were able to do a new route on a 5,000 meter peak that we ended up naming the Gem. And it was just a really proud moment for me because we just we're out there, like I said, 3 women in a very male-dominated discipline of alpine climbing, and in a very male-dominated part of the world as well, and we were able to come together and do a first ascent on this peak, so that was really cool. In 2017, I found myself on the expedition of a lifetime. I headed to Antarctica with Conrad Anker, Jimmy Chin, Alex Hunold, Cedar Wright, and Savannah Cummins to climb in Queen Maud Land, Antarctica, and try to do first ascents. I was super intimidated to go on this trip. When they invited me, I was like, are you sure you have the right person again? And it took me very little time to learn that not only was I with some of the greatest climbers in the world that I could learn from, but I was also with some of the greatest humans. And that was really important to me, to get over my being intimidated of who I'm climbing with and learn what we can all do together. Savannah and I ended up teaming up on that expedition. The environment in Antarctica is really harsh. It's really cold, obviously. There's 24 hours of sunlight, and you just really can't quit moving or else your fingers are gonna like totally freeze. So her and I really had to make good decisions and keep moving. And I was really proud of our effort and our trust in one another to build a good partnership and be able to do first ascents, her and I, in Antarctica in Queen Maud Land. The terrain is really otherworldly is the only term that I can use to describe it. It's like you don't see anything except a white glacier with these big spires that's kind of jutting out of it. We also teamed up with Cedar and Alex to go do a climb of Holtana Peak. We climbed a route that was originally put up by the Huber brothers. And climbing with Alex and Cedar was really mind-blowing for me. So they don't need a rope, obviously. I need a rope. I get very scared, and I usually like people to keep me very tight when I'm following or watching me very close when I'm leading. I was connected to Cedar with a rope, but we rarely had any gear in between us. And he was also literally running. And I remember just being out of breath, trying to climb, simul-climb so fast with him in the middle of Antarctica. But everything turned out okay. We made it to the top, we made it to the summit, and it was just really awesome to spend time climbing with those guys. Also on this route, the descent was pretty convoluted and complicated, and I actually ended up rappelling off of Alex, because Cedar and Alex were able to down climb, and Savannah and I were like, we're not down climbing. I'm like, I'm not down climbing that. So Alex hunched himself in a little ball, and I literally rappelled off of his harness. And I think Cedar was holding on the back of him. And then those guys just followed and down climbed. It was totally amazing. We also went on to do a first ascent with Cedar and Alex. We climbed this formation that we ended up calling the Penguin. And as you can see, the terrain out there is just totally mind-blowing. In 2019, I went to Nepal with a woman from Aspen named Sammy Podhurst, and we really went to go and try to climb the north face of Cholatse. It was a route that I have been looking at for a long time. I really wanted to climb it. But I went out and I actually sat under this peak and just looked up at it. It's a huge north face. And I told myself, I was like, this isn't the time to climb this mountain. And I think it's really important just listening to that inner talk that we often have as climbers of when is the right time to climb something and when is the wrong time to climb something. And then just really digging for that adaptability that if your goal or what you're looking at isn't right or something doesn't feel right about it, to go on and look at climbing something else. And I think that's really important as outdoor athletes to really listen to that intuition and be adaptable. So we shifted our efforts onto climbing the southwest face of Lobuche. Lobuche is a 6,000 meter peak that's located in the Everest region in the Everest Cirque. The regular route on Lobuche often gets climbed for acclimatization for people. It gets fixed lines. But there was a route that had been done the previous year by a New Zealand team, and it looked really rad. And I was like, hey, Sammy, like, let's go try and do the second ascent of this route, or let's just go try and do an ascent of this route. It didn't really even matter that it was the second ascent. And we started up, and oftentimes, as first ascents go, you may start up something and then find yourself completely off route, which is exactly what happened to us. Just within a matter of moments, we were totally off route. But I had a really good feeling about it, and I trusted in the partnership that Sammy and I had, and I trusted in myself and our ability to just kind of deal with what we were given and what we were faced at the time and navigate our way through and be safe. So we ended up spending 2 days on this pretty big Himalayan face, and we were like totally out of the typical story, totally out of gas, totally out of food, just living on the hard candies in my pocket. I remember I had these like really crusty Ricola cough drops that were all like stuck together. But I had like 5 of them left, and that sustained us to get to the ridge. And we ended up making it to the ridge. And it was one of the proudest moments for me, and actually one of the biggest routes that I've done in my climbing career. And it was totally unexpected, and we were only able to do it just through the sheer trust within ourselves and with one another, and being adaptable with our objective. 2018 took me to the Triangle Valley in Pakistan. Dial back to those Yosemite days that I was telling you about with Jean. I remember seeing this photo of Alex Huber on the cover of Climbing magazine. I think it was like circa 2009 or 2008, whenever they ended up free climbing the Eternal Flame on the Triangle Tower. There's the Triangle Tower. And I remember seeing that photo, and Alex is there with his like long hair flowing, and he's like climbing these really golden cracks, and I'm like, that looks amazing. Someday I'm gonna climb it. Granted, this was like right after Jean and I had just like done our 8 or 9 day ascent of the Salathé Wall, and I was like, someday I'm gonna climb that. I know I need to learn a lot, but I really wanna climb that. So I was really excited to end up in the Triangle Valley with David Alfrey and Andres Marin. David Alfrey is a really, really talented big wall climber. He holds multiple speed records. He's probably one of the greatest big wall climbers of his generation, and speed climbers and aid climbers. So he's very talented. And then with Andres Marin, who's a wizard of all things alpine, just knows how to get up stuff and to get everything done. Nothing really phases him. So I felt really good about our team. I really trusted our team that we had there. And we had warmed up and acclimatized on the Great Triangle Tower. And then we set out to our objective on the Nameless Tower. And we'd been having like really, really good weather in the mountains. Like the kind of weather, just sunny days where you forget that there can be bad weather. It's like I could have been climbing on the Nameless Tower in a tank top, no joke. Like it was like beach weather. And we had been getting these weather updates from our friend Jim Woodmansey, who does the weather for the Tetons, and he was kind of texting us these weather reports through the InReach, and we knew we had this weather window. Well, we get up to our first bivvy, and Jim sends an InReach that the weather window was closing, and it was closing way faster than we had anticipated, which was a really hard decision to make, seeing as like I'm still up there on the Triangle Tower in my tank top. We're like, there's no way that bad weather is coming in. And we had to make this decision amongst the 3 of us, and I really trusted Jim. He's like, hey, you guys have like 12 hours to get to the summit and be back down. And you need to be underneath 5,000 meters. The summit of the Triangle Tower, I think, is like 6,200 meters, somewhere around there. He's like, you guys can go, but you need to make sure that you turn around by this time. And we still had a lot of climbing to do. We still had like another bivvy to do on the wall. So we made this decision to keep going up. There I am trying to jog as fast as I can. Everything's really hard at altitude, especially big wall climbing. I find that big wall climbing is even harder at altitude than like mountaineering or walking up with a pack. It's just, everything is really, really hard. Here I am at the second bivvy, and you can kind of see that the clouds are rolling in behind me. So we continued up, and we ended up making it to the summit. And we're there on the summit, and we know that this weather window's coming in. And we start rappelling down just in a total sheer whiteout. Like everything, our weather window just totally shut down. And things got kind of scary for a moment. It's already scary enough rappelling the Great Triangle Tower. To be rappelling it in a whiteout and in bad weather. But I trusted in our team. I trusted in Andres, and I trusted in David, and I trusted in myself that we were going to make good decisions and get ourselves down, and we did. So I was really proud of that ascent and really proud of our ability to get down and make those good decisions. In 2021, I found myself in the Peruvian Andes, and Andres Marin and myself went to a place called the Vilcanota Mountains in the Cusco region. And we met up with our friend Alex Torres, who's from Colombia, and we wanted to just do some exploratory alpine climbing. So we found this peak that we wanted to climb called Concha de Caracol, which translates to the snail. We had first tried to do another ascent on another peak called Mariposa, and we started climbing up it, and pretty quickly the snow conditions got really bad. It just kind of turned into powdery snow and felt like really bad avalanche conditions. And we were like we were like 100 meters from the summit ridge, like we could see it. And that was such a hard call to turn around and come down. But it was the right decision to come down. Sometimes you just got to make those tough decisions. So we focused our attention on doing this first ascent. And looking at it from base camp, we kind of thought that we could go up in a day. So we decided to not take any bivy gear with us and just try to move a lot faster, which is what we did. As we started climbing up, we quickly realized that the climbing and the gear and the conditions were really tricky, and finding gear became very hard, and the snow was really unconsolidated, so it's kind of like you're just climbing up in powdered sugar. You can't really get any purchase to make any upward movement. So the climbing took us a long time, and we eventually made it to a place where we needed to bivy, but we needed to do an open bivy because we made that decision to not bring any climbing gear with us, or any bivy gear with us. We didn't have any sleeping bags or anything like that. So here we are in this open bivy. Alex looks stoked. Andres looks really warm. I'm like dreaming of the spa and red vines and the heated blanket and bubble baths and hot springs and all the things that are not going to happen. And we literally sat out this bivy at 5,200 meters, which is like right around 20,000 feet. And it was one of the coldest nights in my life. And I remember during that time that my feet were getting really cold, but there was like nothing that I could do about it. I was putting them on Andres' stomach and we were trying to warm them up, but we didn't have anything. And we couldn't rappel back down the face because it was so tedious coming up that way, and we needed to go back down that way, and we needed to do it in the daylight and when we were feeling a little bit more rested. So the next morning we woke up and we continued up the summit ridge. We were really close to the summit. We continued up the summit ridge, made it to the summit, and we were really psyched. And then we proceeded to make it down, do the rappels down that face, and it was really tricky. And we made the right decision to do the open bivy on the ridge that night. That was the best decision that we made because the face was just too tricky to come back down. So when I got back to base camp, I pulled off my boots and my feet were like kind of discolored and pretty cold. So here I am standing in a bucket of warm water and getting my circulation back. And I wasn't able to walk out of the valley. I had to ride a horse out of the valley. And I spent about 2 weeks. I had some kind of like minor frostbite damage. And everything seemed to get better though, and I, continued on and everything was fine. That winter following, I had a really good season of ice climbing. My feet never felt like they had any residual damage or anything like that. Everything was great. This past spring, I found myself in the Alaska Range in this past April. I'd always wanted to climb in the Alaska Range, but for whatever reason, things just took me elsewhere. My life took me elsewhere, either nursing work or different places to climb, different ranges to climb in. But this year, this past April, I had the time to go to Alaska. So I called up my friend Preeti Wright, and I was like, hey, do you want to go to Alaska with me? She's like, yes, no thought. And I'm like, that's the partner I want, you're psyched. So we kind of went through all the different routes to climb and what we wanted to do. I wasn't like, I need to do anything new. I had never been to the Alaska Range before, so I was willing to climb everything and anything. So we went through all the different routes that we wanted to climb, and we decided to climb the Harvard route on Mount Huntington, which is kind of like an ultra-classic alpine route. It doesn't get climbed very often. It was first climbed in 1965 by David Roberts. But it's a route that takes you through mixed climbing and rock climbing and snow and all those things that I had been training for since the time back in Uray and after going to Patagonia and realizing that I needed all these skills. We were psyched. We had had another high-pressure system, t-shirt weather in Alaska. And we ended up flying out to the Tokasitna Glacier. We had met up in Talkeetna, flew out with Talkeetna Air, and set up our base camp on the Tokasitna Glacier. Oftentimes, the Tokasitna Glacier, the weather can be really bad. It kind of has its own weather system. It kind of creates this donut weather effect. So it could be sunny and nice everywhere, and oftentimes people will spend like weeks just sitting in their tent waiting for the good weather window. But we got lucky. We flew in, and the next morning we were able to start climbing. So here I am heading up the route. The climbing was really, really awesome. It was really engaging, pretty tricky. We were the first team on that route for the season. So it wasn't like we were doing a first ascent by any means, but we were kind of opening the route, like putting the track in, figuring out where the belays were. It's almost in a way like a first ascent when you just don't know anything about the route and you're just up there figuring out your way. So it took a lot longer than we expected, but we were making good time. We ended up getting to the first bivvy here. Here's Preeti at the first bivvy. And we made it to the bivvy before dark, which is always nice because you can make your little bowl of couscous and eat it quickly while it's still light out. And we passed out in the tent there pretty quickly. The next morning we woke up, and here's me coming up the Crux pitch. So the crux of this is actually an aid pitch that they refer to as the nose, and it's just kind of this feature that juts out. And I'm following Preeti up the nose, up the Crux. And here's the upper part of the mountain. It's like water ice 3 for days, which if anyone in here is an ice climber, you know that water ice 3 is just like that calf burning ice where you're like not sure if you should stand up or hunch over, or stand up or hunch over. And it just kind of went on and on and on, this water ice 3 all the way to the summit. And the summit's a super wild cornice summit. And we ended up making it up there. I don't have a photo of us up there because it was really windy, but just picture 2 blondes on the summit that are just like really stoked to be up there. We were psyched, but we also knew that we needed to get down. The way that you get off the Harvard route is that you actually rappel what is referred to as the West Face Couloir. Some people climb up this route. And the descent is really, really engaging. So you're drilling V-threads the entire way down the West Face Couloir. And things were kind of warming up on the glacier, so we had a lot of overhead hazard, rockfall, and things like that we're watching out for. Plus, we're just really tired from being up on the route. We were up on the route for 2 days. And I just remember being mega focused on getting us down. There's also a Bergstrand right at the end of the West Face Couloir that you need to navigate yourself over. And I knew about this Bergstrand, and I had it in the back of my mind that we weren't done. That was not the crux of the route. We still needed to get back to base camp. Well, we made it back to base camp, and this time, when I pulled off my boots, I quickly realized that my feet were very discolored, and I had very little feeling in my feet. And while I was climbing on the route, I never really had any moments where I was like, wow, my feet are really cold. I never felt like, oh, my feet are cold, but we should still keep going to the summit. We never really had an epic on the mountain. None of that stuff really happened. I came down, pulled my boots off. My feet were kind of like that weird whitish color that I have had before while climbing in the mountains. Being an alpine climber for 15 plus years, you kind of experience that in your hands and feet. And I was like, well, I just need to warm them up And it was pretty late when we got down. Here's Preeti feeding me some bread. I think that was like, when you get down, you're super tired. And you're like, what can we eat? It's bread. Here we go. So I crawl into my sleeping bag, and I'm trying to warm up my feet. The next morning when I woke up, I realized that my feet were not warming up, and they were starting to get really, really discolored. At this time, they started getting kind of like reddish, purplish. They weren't going to go from white back to that nice red skin tone color that I was waiting for. Well, our weather window had shut down drastically, and it went from that sunny tank top alpine climbing weather that I love to fully socked in, and Talkeetna Air couldn't get us out. We could hear them flying over, and I was in close communication with them. And they were like, we're trying to get you. Paul from Talkeetna Air is like, hey man, I'm trying to get you. And I knew he was trying to get us, and he could land if he could, but it was just totally socked in, and that valley is so tight that you have to have good visibility to land the plane. So we spent 2 days out on the glacier, and my feet just progressively got worse and worse. And they went kind of from this discoloration to having these really wild blisters on them. And I knew immediately that I needed to get to the hospital. By the time I actually made it to the hospital in Anchorage, it was too late for them to do anything for my feet. So there's this window of time with frostbite. It's usually about 24 to 72 hours where they can give you a medication that can help restore the circulation to your feet or to the area that's been damaged by frostbite. So what happens when you get frostbite is that you actually develop these little blood clots within your vasculature, and they don't allow that blood flow or oxygen to get to those tissues, and your tissues is actually dying. And that's what was happening to my feet. So my feet just progressively got worse and worse and worse. I tried to do this treatment. It's called hyperbaric oxygen. And with hyperbaric oxygen, they can actually bypass your vasculature system and get oxygen to those tissues, going around all those little blood clots that had formed. So I was trying everything with my feet. I ended up doing 40 treatments of the hyperbaric oxygen. I was doing twice a day, so I would be, within 20 days, I was in this tube for like 5 hours a day. I went through all the Netflix shows, all the good ones, all the bad ones, all the ones I wanted to be watching and not wanting to be. I'm like, what am I even watching in here? But anything to just kind of like take my mind off of what was happening. And for a little while, it seemed like my feet were getting better. Some of the color was coming back, and things were going to be okay. We also had to do these really wild dressing changes twice a day. This is my partner, Andres, who turned out to be my nurse and my doctor and my psychiatrist and my partner. And he was doing these dressing changes for me. And pretty quickly as my toes were getting better, they actually started getting worse. And they got really bad. I didn't put a photo of them in here because it's not a nice photo for anyone to see, but they got really dark and they turned black and they got really thin. And I had talked to like 3 surgeons that told me that I needed to get them taken off, but I wasn't ready to hear that. I was still in, I'm going to do everything. And then I had to separate myself. So in the beginning, I kind of bypassed the important part of my life, where I've actually been a nurse, an ER nurse, an ICU nurse for now almost close to 20 years. And I had to kind of separate myself and say, like, if I walked into a patient's room and saw what their feet looked like, I know that that is not viable. That doesn't work with life. And that's how I came to the conclusion that my medical team, who I didn't want to trust at the time, they wanted me to be able to make that decision. And I had a conversation with the surgeon, and he's like, if we don't take these off, this could be an infection in your foot, and then it could be your ankle, and then it could be your leg. And I knew that. I'm a medical professional. And I had to make the ultimate decision to have my toes removed on my right foot. So May 25th, I lost all the toes on my right foot. And eventually, August 2nd, I lost my big toe on my left foot. So here's what my feet look like now, minus the blue nail polish. It's actually pink right now. And now I can look at this photo and I'm like, oh wow, they look pretty good from my nursing perspective. I'm like, they look great. But it took me a long time to be able to look at this photo, right? And all along with this, what I learned was that what the mountains took from me on this climb in Alaska, they actually taught me how to deal with it. So all those lessons that I learned having epics in Patagonia and El Cap, and the trust that I needed within myself to be adaptable, and the trust that I needed within my team, this being my medical team, and within myself, that I would be able to deal with this because my life in the mountains has taught me for this moment, coincidentally. I learned pretty quickly that one thing I needed, and I think most of us who are active people or outdoor people, when you're really used to moving and then all of a sudden that's just taken away from you, that's really hard. That's how you can go to the dark side really quickly. So I'm really thankful for the High Fives Foundation, which is located in Truckee. Yay. They awarded me a grant, which I was able to get this really rad bike, because for a lot of time, I couldn't put any weight on my feet. So I was just kind of crawling around. And this bike ended up being my sanity, to just be able to jump on and ride around and keep that active and keep my mind active and keep my body active. This was my life. I lived on this thing forever. So I had to spend 6 weeks off of each foot, so 6 weeks off of my right foot, and then 6 weeks off of my left foot, which is a lot of time. And it just seemed everything just seemed so impossible. I was really how is this gonna work? I don't think I'm gonna be able to walk again. I wasn't supposed to walk, but of course, as we probably all in this room would, I would try walking immediately. I'm I just need to see what this feels like. And I would immediately fall over, and I could feel my brain searching for my toes, especially searching for my big toe. And I didn't really let that get to me. I just tried to keep as active as I could, whatever I could do. I lived in the gym in the Front Range, in a gym called The Spot, which I learned a lot about accessibility, because I was in a wheelchair for a good month, and I learned a lot about places that I would never have thought about as being inaccessible for people. So shout out to The Spot in Boulder. Their gym is amazing if you're in a wheelchair. It has an elevator. You can make it around, navigate around the gym, which was super important for me. And that was one of the only places that I found where I could do that. And eventually, I was able to start putting weight on my feet and relearning how to walk. Like I was saying, those first couple steps that I took, I would just instantly fall over. And it was really demoralizing. I was how in 40 years, or however, I'm 41, so I think you learn to walk when you're 6 months. I don't know, I don't have a baby, but somewhere around there. I was how can I not walk? And it really would get me down. But with a lot of PT and a lot of commitment, I learned how to walk again.
Yeah, Anna, nice work. You?
A lot of it was on the treadmill. The treadmill ended up being key because you can kind of hold some of your weight off and keep your balance as you move your feet. So this would be my days. This was my past summer, literally just in the gym, relearning how to walk on the treadmill. And then eventually I started learning how to climb again in the gym, just, 5, 6 big holds, that kind of thing. Climbing in approach shoes, just whatever I did to try and get back into things. For me, I just really wanted to keep pushing it and really trust in myself and my ability. And as soon as I got the go-ahead, or kind of quasi got the go-ahead to move, I was all about it. Then just this past November, I returned to my home in Colorado. because I had been staying in the Front Range. Where I live in Colorado, it's a very, very small mountain town, and there's not a lot of resources when you have an injury like this. So I ended up moving, my partner Andres and I and our dog Namche ended up moving up to Boulder, because there's a lot of resources in Boulder and a lot of physical therapy and gyms that I really needed. But I was really happy to go back home to Ouray for two reasons. One, it meant that I was well enough to go back home and I didn't need my physical therapist as much anymore. And I just love where I live, and it's a really nice place in the mountains to be. This was this was the first ice climb that I got back on after the loss of my toes. And it was bittersweet because before I left for Alaska, this same route, it's a route called Second Goalie over in Silverton. It's a route that I would solo multiple times. So I would go out and just do solo laps on this route. I'd climb it 5 or 6 times, come back, call it good. It's 4 or 5 pitches of water ice 3. For me at the time, before my injury, that was very easy for me. And it was bittersweet to come back and barely be able to make it up the first pitch. And just really oh my gosh. But I just had to really have this conversation in my mind and with myself that I can do this again. I can relearn how to move and relearn how to climb. So I'm kind of back at square one, back top roping in Ouray on a super tight top rope, and just back to that relearning, how I was in Yosemite and in Patagonia, and allowing myself to have those mini epics and to cry whenever I want to, and to be okay with top roping pitches and not be I gotta lead it all the time and it has to be so hardcore, but just really experience and love being outside and love the movement. And this is the new perspective that I've had on this. For me, this injury that I have, it's not the end of my climbing career, it's just the beginning of doing it in a new way with a new perspective. So just these past few weeks, I think this is probably 2 weeks ago now, I was able to lead an ice climb. And it was really awesome because I climbed this thing that we call Senator's Gulch up on Camp Bird Road in Ouray. And this was actually the first ice climb that I ever led before my injury. And it was the first one after. And I hadn't really planned it, it just kind of turned out that way. But I remember having similar feelings that I had 15 years ago that I led it for the first time. I was I'm so gripped and this is so insecure and I don't know if the ice screws hold and all the things. And I was able to go up it and I was just really happy that it coincidentally was the same ice climb that I had led for the first time in my life. And I felt like I was re-leading it again with my new body. And all these stories that I'm telling you wouldn't have been possible without my wonderful partner Andres and my dog Namche. Andres is the king of tough love and soft love. And oftentimes with these injuries, when I want to just be sitting under my heated blanket eating red vines, he gives me that tough love and gets me out there and gets me back to moving and doing the things that I love. And without the community, without everyone in this room, and everyone who supported me through social media and along my journey, sending me wonderful messages, it's all about the climbing community. It goes back to the early days that I was telling you about in Indian Creek, that I got invited into the community and the love that people showed me. I've experienced that through my 15, 20 years of being in the community, and especially with this injury that I'm dealing with and I still deal with now. It's all still quite new. And I just want to thank everyone for that. And if someone did send me a message, just know that I read it. And if I didn't get back to you, I apologize. And maybe I will someday. But I appreciate everyone. And with that, I just wanted to dedicate tonight to Hillary Nelson, who I love dearly. And Hillary was a big part of this community here in Tahoe, and also our community in Telluride, and also the outdoor community as a whole. She was a captain of our North Face team. Sorry. and someone that I've always looked up to dearly. And I remember a moment with Hillary. Hillary and Jim had come to Ouray, and I just, at the time, had shoulder surgery, which I thought was like so devastating. And this was actually, I had shoulder surgery in 2020, so not that far after or before this big injury that I just told you about. I was actually kind of just getting back into everything when I had the injury with my toes. And Hillary had come down to Ouray with Jim to come climb with my partner Andres to go ice climbing in the park. And Hill and I were just kind of like standing on the bridge, and I'm in like a big sling and everything, and I'm like, Hillary, how do you go back to being hardcore? Because I knew Hillary had injuries, and Hillary and I we like going to the spa and like getting our hair done and doing that kind of stuff too, right? And I'm like, how do you go? I think, when I had an injury, or when you're injured, for me, oftentimes it's easy to lose that tenacity or the edge to go out and be really cold or carry the heavy pack. That stuff doesn't come through. I have to work for it, and I have to work hard to do it. And we were just chatting about that, and I was just kind of waiting for this, really good advice. And she just looked at me and she's like, you just do it. And I'm like, damn, that's deep, that's legit. You just do it. You don't look for this, how do you do it? You just go and you do it. So oftentimes when I'm having a really hard time with my feet, I think of Hillary just telling me to do it. And with all this, I heard this really good quote, actually on the High Fives podcast, that our best is always changing. And I think it's true whether you have an injury or not. Some days our best is what we're giving it, and it's just important to always do our best. And that changes throughout our lives. Our lives change, our perspectives change, we get older, different things come priority. It's not always about climbing the hardest routes or doing the biggest climb or doing the first ascent. It's just about doing our best, and our best is always changing. That's all I have for you.
Come on, y'all, let's give it up for Anna Pfaff. Thanks, everyone.